Hi, this is Peter for The Movable Chef. Today I'd like to talk to you about one of the easier to travel with and more versatile coffee makers in my kitchen. And it's not the Geoda Rocket. It's actually the Aeropress. These have been a big favorite with coffee geeks for a while. You've probably heard of them. They are rugged, they're a thick grade of plastic, they're lightweight, very easy to travel with, and they make a good cup of coffee. I was kind of an early adopter for the Aeropress because they were introduced shortly before my wife got pregnant with her son. And there were a lot of things I was willing to give up. I was willing to give up cold cuts, I was willing to give up sushi, I was willing to give up alcohol, just sort of in sympathy. But caffeine was not one of those things. So I was making daily cups of coffee with these, often a couple cups a day. And actually I still use it a lot in the afternoon if I just want a single cup of coffee. Rather than firing up the Technivorm and brewing a 6-cup pot, I'll use the Aeropress and just make a quick cup of coffee. So let me shift over to the tabletop camera and we'll make some coffee with the Aeropress. I'll show you how it's used, and also I'll wade right into one of the largest controversies on the internet. So let's take a closer look at the Aeropress. What comes in the box, if you will, is the coffee maker itself. This is comprised of an inner piston, an outer cylinder, and then this end cap which holds a filter. I'm using the paper filters that come with it. I like the paper filters quite a bit. It comes with this little filter holder full of filters, a funnel I've honestly never used for anything other than a drying rack for the Aeropress, a stirrer, which we'll get to in a moment, and it comes with a plastic coffee scoop that was exactly the same size as my 2-tablespoon normal coffee scoop, so I think I threw it away. And that's what you get. And the way that you use it is actually the subject of that controversy I was talking about. There are a number of people who have decided that the best way to make coffee with an Aeropress is to do it upside down. Take off the filter and the end cap, put the coffee and the water in, stir it, let it steep, then put the filter on, flip the contraption over into a cup, and then press it down. That's not the way the instructions suggest doing it, and to be honest, that's not really the way I've done it for the last 8 or 9 years. 7 or 8 years, I should say. And there's some reasons for doing it that way. It allows a dwell time or a steeping time that the original instructions didn't call for. The other argument I've read is that there's a bloom of the coffee, that if you don't do it that way, you're going to not get the benefit of or miss some of that extraction. To be honest, I have not found it to be a big problem for me. So I'm going to do a quick demonstration showing the traditional or the by the instruction book way of doing this, and then I'll talk about the other. All right, the original way of making coffee with the Aeropress would be to take the cylinder, put a filter in the end cap, twist that onto the bottom, put your coffee directly into the cylinder, and I'm going to do 2 servings or 2 cups, if you will. These are sort of the European style, very small cups. So for a mug of coffee in the morning, I find that doing a double dosage, if you will, is about right. And then you add water just off the boil to the cylinder. So as with any coffee, you want this water to be somewhere between 190, 195 degrees. So just little bit off the boil, 30 seconds off the boil. And you pour this until the water level is at about the 2 mark, and then you start stirring. And you stir for about 15 seconds. And then, if you want some dwell time or some steeping on this, you can go ahead and put the piston in and let it seal, and you'll see that the water really stops coming through. So it will just sit there and dwell for as long as I want it to. And yes, I did lose some water, and this is a big concern for some of the people who are trying to get the most out of their Aeropresses, is that you lost some water that didn't fully steep with the coffee. It is about 1 tablespoon. So a little bit over 1/2 ounce of water came through that wasn't fully exposed to the coffee grounds. If that's going to bother you, then there are plenty of guides on how to do this upside down, but it has never bothered me in the past. So I'm going to let this sit for a bit, and then we'll come back and press it. All right, we've given this some time to sit and let the rest of the coffee extract. I'm just going to press this down slowly, kind of firmly. In some of the early marketing efforts for this, they said it was espresso-like coffee. And I gotta say, it's really nowhere near the pressure levels that you'd see in an espresso machine. And this is very fresh, locally roasted coffee. It's from Ceremony in Annapolis. I get it right after it's been roasted. And I'm not seeing any real crema formation down here either, as you'd expect with espresso. What it makes is a really strong coffee, which is very similar to filter coffee in its qualities. It's a very clean cup. It's not a muddy cup like you might get with a French press or sometimes with Turkish coffee or even with the mocha pot. So it's a very, very clean. The paper filter helps to remove some of the bitter oils. And if you're going to make a sort of a standard American strength coffee, you would add some hot water to this to get something which is about the consistency of a standard American filter coffee that I would drink for breakfast. So I've added some water back into this, and yeah, it's just a very pleasant, very nicely formed, very clean cup of coffee. You certainly don't get any of those issues that you get with, say, a French press or something. So it's a great way to make coffee when you're traveling. It's light, it's nearly indestructible, easy to carry around, and makes a really good cup of coffee. I know people that actually carry these when they're on business trips, even when they don't have a kitchen, and they'll use that little coffee maker in the hotel room just to make hot water, and then brew the actual coffee in an Aeropress because they're so easy to travel with. If you really wanted to do the inverted thing, the process is almost exactly the opposite of what I showed you. You put the cylinder in, you put the coffee in, as it's sitting here right now, and then you fill this with water, stir, let it steep, and then put the wettened or moistened filter on, and that's kind of an important thing because that gets it to stick to the cap. Then that would go on, and then you'd flip it over and press it out. Understand that's a great way to use them. I've personally never done it that way, and I get a really good cup of coffee doing it the way that the instructions came with the device. Like I said, this is a huge controversy, and I'm sure I'll get lots of hate and discontent for preaching the standard method of using an Aeropress. In any case, I hope you try one of these out. They're a great way of making coffee, whether you're at home or on the road. And they've definitely, this one's lasted me for 7 or 8 years, and I've been very happy with it. So this is Peter from The Movable Chef. For more information about this or other coffee brewing techniques, please check out our website, themovablechef.com.